Hi, this is Jim Musser with Upstream Ministries, and this is episode 75 on Views from Downstream. And the last several weeks, we've been talking about the worship service in the local church and how to improve that to make it more functional and helpful in terms of discipleship. And I want to just focus today on the role of the worship service in the church. It seems like it is increasingly more and more the event of the week with little else happening, or there may be things happening, but fewer and fewer participants in those things. The main draw is the worship service. That's where the most people come. And then if you have other things, then the percentage of numbers goes way down. So if you have a Sunday night service, it's gone way down. In fact, those are things that are disappearing. The Sunday night service, the Wednesday night service are disappearing because of the lack of attendance, mainly. And so the worship service has become something that I really don't think originally it was intended to be, and that is all in all and in all. And that has really hampered the growth and depth of the church. And because if you think about it, how much can you grow as a Christian and become a more mature disciple by spending an hour, hour and a half in a worship service that, as I've said many times, is mainly passive, that it doesn't require much of the attendance at all, but just to listen. And sometimes people are singing, but there's just not much demanded of people. It's a spectator event by and large. And so I'm wondering, without the Sunday schools, the small groups, the Sunday night services, the Wednesday night services, we are losing and have lost a lot of the pillars of our church structure, and basically have built it on one pillar alone, and that is the Sunday morning worship service. And I just question whether that's enough to really grow and deepen, and probably more emphasis on deepening the church and its relationship with the Lord and with one another. And I just think it can't be done that way. And we've just allowed the preferences of people to dictate what we're going to do. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I was never thrilled with Sunday night services or Wednesday night services. And that may be, wrong in a sense, because I'm basically saying we need more of some of that, and yet I'm really not haven't been all that interested in it. But I think we need to rethink some things, and I mentioned numerous times we need to step back and take a look at what we're doing, because a lot of times it's just so gradual, the changes, that we don't realize how far we've gotten from probably what our main purpose in a church is, and that's making disciples. And we can't make disciples in an hour and a half, one day out of the week. That just can't happen. Now, if there's all kinds of other things going on, then that makes it reasonable. But again, my point is we are not doing anything else. We've made the worship service the main thing, and then we try to cram all our discipleship, what we call discipleship, into that. And it just doesn't work that way. Discipleship is is life lived out. It's not an hour in a class listening to a monologue or singing some songs. I mean, those things are not necessarily bad, but they need to be reinforced by a lot of very hands-on things. And that's why I've been very adamant about that we need to make the worship service much more assertive, not passive. So where we get people engaged in the worship service with the pastor, with the music, with each other, instead of it just being a spectator event. And so I just really want to challenge us again to step back and see, is this model that we've been creating over the last few decades, is it really fulfilling what our mission has truly been, and that is to go into all the nations and make disciples, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I've commanded. Is this being accomplished through our hour and a half worship service? Or do we need more? And if we need more, what would that be? And so I just want you to think about that and meditate upon it and think about, if you're a leader, then what does that mean if the answer is no, we can't accomplish our mission how we're doing it now? Then what's the answer? What would be a change in strategy that we could engage in that would bring about much better results? And if you're just a quote unquote lay person, if you're not in church leadership, what do you need to become a more effective disciple of Jesus? Because again, your purpose as a Christian is not just merely going to a church, attending a worship service, maybe volunteering in the children's ministry, youth ministry, just doing volunteer work, cooking meals, whatever. Those things aren't bad. But your purpose is to grow in your relationship with the Lord and grow and mature as a disciple. Is the worship service or whatever you're doing right now, ask yourself, is that really making that happen? Am I becoming a much more mature follower of Jesus? If I look back on my life over the last 10 years, 20 years, am I far more mature now as a follower of Jesus than I was then? And if the answer is no, then you know that some things aren't working well. And I just would challenge you to think about that. And if you conclude, no, I'm not growing, then to talk to your church leadership and say, hey, I'm not growing. And here's why, and here's what I would need, and probably what you need is similar to what other people need. And you just talk with them about it and ask them to consider doing some things differently. Again, this is about stepping out of our comfort zones in order to improve what the church is doing, in order to make it more in line with the mission that we say we have, and that is to make disciples. So think about that over this week, and we'll see you back here next week.